talking to your jailer. Stop calling me a prisoner.
Now, let me ask you something. How does an artist with undeniable talent, global recognition, and timeless music still feel underrated in her own country? This is the story of Asha and why her genius is often overlooked.
There is fire on the mountain, and nobody seems to be on the run.
Born Bukola Elemide in Paris and raised in Lagos, Asha grew up in a home filled with music. Her father was a cinematographer, and her early exposure to creativity shaped her sound. But Asha wasn't trying to follow trends. She was building something deeper, something honest, something that would last. While many Nigerian artists were chasing commercial success and radio hits, Asha took a completely different path. She leaned into soul, jazz, and folk, genres that demand emotions, storytelling, and vulnerability. And that right here is where the disconnection began. Because let's be honest, the Nigerian mainstream music industry has always been driven by energy, danceability, and street appeal. But Asha, she brought introspection. She brought silence between the notes. She made you think. Her breakout came in 2007 with her self-titled album, Asha. Songs like Jailer and Fire on the Mountain.
Stop calling me a prisoner. There is fire on the mountain.
Didn't just sound good. They spoke the truth. They challenged the society. They questioned authority. They held up a mirror. Fire on the Mountain, a song that still feels relevant today, talked about societal decay, ignorance, and the consequences of looking away. But here's the thing. Nigerians listened, appreciated, then moved on. Why? Because Asha's music is not built for quick consumption. It's not background music. It demands attention. And in the fast-paced, hype-driven industry, that's a big risk. But globally, that same depth became her strength. Asha built a loyal international audience. She performed on some of the biggest stages in Europe. She gained respect from music purists. Critics praised her authenticity. She didn't need to shout. Her voice carried weight. Yet back home, she remained somewhat on the sidelines of mainstream dominance. Let's talk about the Nigerian music space for a moment. Afrobeats exploded globally. Artists started making club hits, viral songs, and chart toppers. The industry became louder, faster, and more competitive. And while that growth is incredible, it also created a system where subtle artistry often gets overshadowed. And Asha didn't change to fit the system. And that is both her greatest strength and her biggest challenge. Because while other artists adapted to trends, Asha stayed rooted in her identity. Albums like Beautiful Imperfection and Bed of Stone continued to explore themes of love, pain, identity, and social justice. No gimmicks, no noise, just music. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Sometimes, audiences don't reward consistency, they reward visibility. Asha doesn't float social media. She doesn't chase controversy. She doesn't drop music every few months just to stay relevant. She disappears, then returns with a body of work. And in today's algorithm-driven world, silence can be misinterpreted as irrelevance. But make no mistake, Asha is far from irrelevant. She represents something rare, artistic integrity. Now, let's look deeper. Why do Nigerian audiences often move on from artists like Asha? One reason is cultural conditioning. We are used to celebrating loud success, big numbers, viral moments, street anthems. But artists like Asha operates in a different lane, one that values longevity over trends. Another reason is relatability. While many artists sing about everyday hustle, nightlife, and romance in a way that feels immediate, Asha's music can feel abstract. It requires reflection. It's not always easy to digest. And in a world where attention spans are shrinking, that becomes a disadvantage. But here's where it gets interesting. Years later, people come back to Asha's music. They rediscover it. They understand it differently. They appreciate it even more. That's the mark of timeless art. Her song, Bibanke, her acoustic performances, her raw vocals. These are not things you outgrow. They grow with you. So maybe the problem isn't Asha. Maybe it's timing. Maybe Asha is ahead of her audience. Because history has shown us artists who stay true to their craft often get their flowers later. But let's not ignore something very important. Asha is not a victim. She has built a successful career on her own terms. She has toured the world. She has influenced a generation of artists who are now blending soul with Afrobeats. You can hear her impact in a new wave of alternative Nigerian music, artists who are choosing depth over hype. So even if she's not always trending, she's shaping the culture quietly, and that is very powerful. Now think about this. In a country where many artists are constantly trying to prove themselves, Asha doesn't need to prove anything. Her catalog speaks. Her voice speaks. Her consistency speaks. But the question remains, will Nigeria ever fully embrace artists like Asha while they are still active and alive? Or will we continue to celebrate them after the fact or long after they are gone? Because we've seen this pattern before. Artists who spoke the truth, who made meaningful music, who refused to conform often get overlooked in the moment and praised in the hindsight. And that's something we need to change as a people. We need to learn how to appreciate depth in real time. We need to create space for different sounds. Because music is not just about vibes, it's also about voice. And Asha has one of the strongest voices, not just in Nigeria, but globally. So next time you hear her music, don't just listen, feel it, understand it, sit with it, because that's how it was meant to be experienced. And maybe, just maybe, you'll realize that Asha was never underrated. She was just misunderstood.
You are the ocean, boy, you are the ocean.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Vibes Plus. Drop a comment and tell me, do you think Asha is underrated in Nigeria, or is she simply operating on a different level? My name is Ital, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.